And good morning, and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. So, good morning. Happy Monday, everyone. I hope everybody enjoyed their weekend. The weather wasn't too bad. This weekend was a little chilly, but it wasn't too bad. So, thank you again for joining us here this morning on Unfiltered Vision News. And we have Cajun Lady coming in. She says, "Good morning, brothers and sisters," with her red, white, and blue hearts. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning on Unfiltered Vision News. So as we get started, let's play our Children's Corner video to inspire our young listeners this morning.
Running. Every day after school, he would race against his friends on the school track field. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't outrun his friend Jake, who was the fastest in school. Lucas felt discouraged and almost gave up. One day, his coach noticed and said, "Lucas, don't focus on beating others. Focus on beating your own best time." Inspired by his coach's words, Lucas started timing himself every day. He stopped worrying about Jake and focused on improving his own time. Each day, he ran a little faster than the day before. With determination, he pushed his limits. On the day of the big race, Lucas didn't think about beating Jake. Instead, he focused on beating his own best time. The race started, and Lucas ran like never before. As he crossed the finish line, he realized something amazing: he had run his fastest time yet. After the race, Jake congratulated Lucas. But Lucas wasn't focused on winning against Jake. He was proud of beating his own time. He realized that the real competition was always within himself. From that day on, Lucas set new goals, knowing that being better than yesterday was the greatest victory of all. The only competition.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that we have to remember. Like a lot of the races that we're running, it's against us, right? Set your own best time against yourself. Don't be so quick, I should say, to compete with others because we all have our own lanes. We all have our own delivery, right? Like there's tons of news programs out there. You guys could be anywhere. You could be watching the Today Show right now. You could be watching Good Morning America. You could be watching Fox and Friends, but you're here, right? So for me, the competition is always against myself. Like, hopefully today we'll have more than, 200 individuals that decide to drive, be on the live stream, right? So I'm not competing with everybody else out there. I'm making my own lane. And so I just wanted to remind everybody out there, make your own lane. You've got the ability within you. And so with that, we're quickly going to go over what we've done daily, and not to get away from it, but to honor God with our body. So God, please help us to please guard my mind and thoughts. God, help me to fix my thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. So I will think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. God, please protect my ears and help me listen for your voice. God, help me be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. God, protect my eyes from sin's damage. God, I make a covenant with my eyes to not look lustfully. God, please speak life over my mouth. God, set a guard over my mouth. Lord, keep watch over the doors of my lips. And guys, God, help my hands to serve you generously. God, help me to do good to everyone, and especially to those who belong to the family in the faith. God, please protect my reproductive organs. God, help me to honor you with my body. And God, please protect my feet along your path. God, let your word be a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. And so I definitely want to make sure that I read that to us daily, as a reminder to really set our pace and tone right for the day. Now, our next segment that we're going to get into is our morning sports segment, which you guys know I actually really do like because I do like sports. So let's bring up Conscious Outlaw to give us our recap for today. And Cajun Lady, she's so sweet. She says, God is good, actually, and he is good all the time, right? You have to remember that part. She says, I enjoy your live streams every day. I learn something new. Thank you for giving your time to keep us well informed. Oh, you're appreciated. Thank you so much for that, Cajun Lady. And Spud, who's joining us from YouTube, says good morning and amen. Good morning to you too. Hey, Conscious, how are you this morning?
Good morning. How are you this morning? How's the
I'm
Unfiltered
good.
Vision family?
All right. Thank you so much. And I'll let you take it over with the sports recap.
Okay, well, we're gonna cover college basketball, college football, and the NFL. We're gonna get college football last because there's something we want to discuss specifically. But there's been no change at the AFC East. Pittsburgh is I'm sorry, the Patriots are number one. Pittsburgh and NFC North, we need to watch them. They have very tough division. They won yesterday against a very heated Bengals game where Aaron Rodgers he has a slight break in his non-throwing hand. He's day to day. They're not sure if he's gonna be able to come back for the next game. Um, and there was an incident with Jamar Chase and Jalen Ramsey. The game was very heated. They're division rivals, so it was been a lot of talk about that. In the AFC South, Indianapolis is still on top, and in the AFC West, Denver is still on top. Now the NFC East, Philly's still on top, but there's been a change in the North. Chicago took over the top spot in the NFC North, taking over Green Bay's spot. They've been playing really well. And the NFC South, Tampa Bay and Carolina are really fighting for the top spot. Both of them have 6 wins. One has 4 losses, which is Tampa Bay, and Carolina has 5 losses. And the Rams in the NFC West, they took over the top spot from the Seattle Seahawks, who makes them the division leaders. So everything's wrapping up and starting to get together. And we also have 3 teams that are vying for the number one draft pick, which is the Jets, that we're 2-8, the Tennessee Titans at 1-8, and the Browns at 2-8. I guess they should have started Shador Sanders, huh? Okay, and so we got okay now into college sports, college basketball. We have Houston at 2-0, top spot, Purdue 2, UConn 3, Duke 4, Arizona 5, Michigan 6, BYU 7, Alabama 8, and the University of Kentucky 9, and Florida at 10. All of the teams except for Florida are 2-0. Florida is 1-1 in their division. And so now we're gonna go to college football. There hasn't been too much changes in the top 10. Ohio State is still number one. Georgia moved up to number 4. Alabama is and moved into the 10 spot. So that wraps up the highlights for the week for the major sports.
Okay. Yeah, it always amazes me how Alabama always stays at the top. They lost. How do you get into the top 10 and you lost? I guess somebody else lost. Somebody else had to lose. And Texas, that's right. Texas lost. But they both lost. I'm like, how?
Yeah,
They
college
will
rankings they
shoehorn Alabama in every year. It does not matter. It does
yeah,
not matter.
they're 8-2. I guess because they lost early, that's why they let them
Oh,
in because they played
okay.
good going down the stretch. So like, sometimes that matters.
Okay. All right. Maybe it's just me. Okay, so
And
I did chat with you a little bit, and this has pretty much been on everybody's lips. What's going on? So I just wanted to play a quick video regarding an incident that happened at the Texas South Carolina game. So I'll play that and then we'll discuss.
What happened at the Texas A&M South Carolina football game is unacceptable for an officer who was there to protect everyone in the stadium to walk toward those young players with that level of aggression, that level of intention, that level of purpose, and that purpose being nothing for good is something that just can't happen. And now, if you are these young men's parents, this is worst case scenario for you. This is something you've coached your kids through. You've told them how to behave. You told them what to say. You've told them how to look. And you've told them all of these things just to stay alive. And so now in this situation, someone who is in that stadium to protect them is the aggressor. And here's my biggest problem with the whole thing. There was 100,000 people in the stands. There were 2 entire football teams on the field, and there were millions of people watching on TV. So what kind of decisions does this officer make when no one is watching, when there are no immediate consequences? And thank God that Texas A&M acted extremely quickly to at least try to rectify the situation so everyone on that football field and in those stands could feel safe. But this is a cautionary tale. This is a warning. There are those people that feel so entitled and so empowered and have that level of audacity and also intoxication on power that they believe that they're above the law. It's not just about protecting those young men on the field, which is something we have to do. It's about protecting those young people in these streets, in these schools, that just walk around in everyday life from those who don't understand the power of the badge and the responsibility of it. Thank God today worked out the way it did and we got a great SEC battle. But not every young man is so lucky.
Wow. So I just wanted to get your take on that video and just the incident that actually happened, Conscious.
Yeah, so I watched it. Watched the actual video, and then I enjoyed what Ryan Clark said because, like he said, that officer is there to protect everyone, and especially the players. And it was just disrespectful. They're coming out the tunnel. He knows when they're coming out the tunnel. He could have let them walk past and then walk, but he chose to walk through them, and you can see that it shocked the players because they was like, "What you bumped me for?" And then for him to turn around and to like point, and it does bother you if he acts like this in front of everyone. How does he act late at night on a
Mhm.
stop when it's just
Right.
him and one other person that he may not like or whatever like that? So yeah, but I do believe that a lot of people spoke out. I think LeBron James spoke out against it, and I do believe he was suspended.
Yeah.
So they acted quickly, but that's because the eyes of the world was watching it. But it was very distasteful, and it's very just a microcosm of how our country and how the law enforcement acts towards our young people.
Yeah, and to that, I'm really hoping that they don't move this person around, right? So, yes, he's been suspended, but do not put him back on the street. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want him in any aspect of law enforcement, period. If he wants to be somebody's private security, fine. They will take that on, actually hiring somebody like that to protect them. But he showed that he's not there to protect and serve the masses, right? Because what would have been respectful and interesting, it would have been applauded is if he would have just stood to the side and let the players go out. And we would have been like, wow, that's cool. We know that he's there to serve and protect everybody. But no, you showed your true colors. And again, I'm really hoping that they don't move this person from that detail, right, to another detail, to where he might not be in Texas, but he might move to Arkansas or Louisiana or Mississippi or Georgia, Florida, anywhere in the United States. Like, again, I'm not trying to dox this person because I don't know who that's going to, what I'm saying, where they're going to move next. But I'm really hoping that if he does go somewhere else, that they're like, no, you can't serve here because you are not about protecting and serving. I mean, I don't know. Just wanted to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's probably what will happen, especially if he has a service record or he might be up for pension or something like that. They might just take him off stadium detail and like hide
Okay.
him in the corner. That they usually, I
Mm,
mean, in a perfect world, he would be reprimanded or told that he has to find another job, and other police officers or police departments wouldn't hire him. But unfortunately, they have what they call the blue wall of silence, and they protect their own no matter how egregious. So, in a perfect world, we would hope that he would be retired or he would be so he can't be a police officer anymore. But probably it's been officers have done much worse, have actually taken lives and have been able to find other employment. Most recently, what we know from Michael Brown, the officer that took his life was just reassigned to another department in Missouri somewhere. So,
wow.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and it's one of those things we definitely have to do better. And before I'll let you go, Spud McKenzie says police union will have him in your city quicker than you know with another gig. So that is holds true to what you were just saying.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, that's the truth. That's the truth we live in. So we just have to keep our kids and our young people prepared for dealing with those situations because they're not there to de-escalate. They're there to escalate, and you have to know how to de-escalate the situation yourself, which is reverse from their training.
Wow, that is so, so sad. Well, I'll let you have last words before we end your sports segment.
That'll be it. You all, we have a dud tonight for Monday Night Football. It's going to be the Cowboys and the Raiders. So the fans of those teams, you might have a good game, but it's not nothing that's going to be anything hinged on any stats on any standings. And thank you all for having me, and I will all see you Monday.
All right. Thank you so much, Conscious. All right, so that was our sports segment with Conscious Outlaw giving us the breakdown and the rundown. And thank you so much for everybody, just asking questions and your inputs, but about that. And it's one of those things that Ryan was saying. We have to train our children, and when he says our children, I know who he's talking about, to be respectful of law enforcement so they can walk away with their lives. Right. Even, my bonus son, he had to go through some things when he was in Arkansas City, Kansas, dealing with racism. And I'm grateful that he's graduated from there. It was a 2-year college and he's moved on and he's in a better college now. But I definitely pray for him all the time that he is kept safe from incidents like that. And you would think being 2025, just past 1990, right? That we would be past racism, but we're not. And it's unfortunate, but it's gotten worse, in my opinion, because a lot of people say, oh, there's no racism. It's like, yeah, it's unfortunate it exists. And it exists with people that are in positions of authority. And it embitters some individuals against those positions of authority. So, in my opinion, people in those positions of authority, you need to do better. There needs to be better training, right? If you're going to live in a society with people who don't look like you, be respectful. If you want respect, you got to give it. That's just how it is. So, with that, we're going to take a quick break and we will see you guys on the other side. And we're back, and thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. Today is Recap Monday, so we will be recapping certain, I would say, pieces of the news that have happened over the weekend and going into the weekend. And something that I noticed, it's people are calling for a mass blackout. I don't know if you guys have seen some of these videos trending over social media, but I found a video that kind of breaks it down a little bit, and I wanted us to just look more into what's going on.
5th, 2025, this year, to December 2nd, they're calling it a mass blackout. Not a march, not a protest, no science necessary. It's 1 week where we pull our dollars out of the system and see what happens when the economy feels the weight of our absence. Because we've marched, we've begged, most of us voted the right way. And now we're just going to sit back and test the one thing this country truly worships: money. See, this isn't the first time we've tried this, right? Economic boycotts have always been the heartbeat of real change, from Montgomery to Operation Breadbasket. When the buses lost money, segregation fell. When companies realized ignoring Black consumers meant losing profit, they started hiring, promoting, and pandering. History has already shown us that pulling our dollars hits harder than any speech, any march, any protest ever could. The timing isn't random. Black Friday is the biggest spending weekend in America. Billions get poured into corporations that barely reinvest in the communities that made them rich in the first place. So from November 25th to December 2nd, the goal is simple, okay? Buy nothing that doesn't circulate back into us. You hear me? Support small, support local, support Black. Because when we withhold our dollars, We remind this country that we're not just consumers. We are the economy. So yeah, the mass blackout isn't about canceling Christmas or skipping joy. It's about shifting power and realizing that every dollar that we spend is a vote for the world that we live in. They've ignored our voices. They've ignored our pain. Let's see if they ignore our absence. We're not asking anymore. We are shutting this shit down. Okay? No spending. If you do need something, make sure you go to farmers market, support small businesses. There's a ton of places that you can go to make sure you support the right people, not corporations. We are done. We're done.
Okay. And mic drop, right? We are done. I was like, wow. And it really, and I saw actually another flyer on it that I want to share with you guys because I was just like, wow, this is really happening. Like, this is a thing. Okay. Not asking, we're shutting it down. Mass blackout November 25th to December 2nd. So that would be this coming up next Wednesday. Well, yeah, next Wednesday? Yes. Next Tuesday. Sorry. Next Tuesday. Going on to December 2nd, it says the largest economic blackout protest in U.S. history begins November 25th. No work, no spending, no restaurants, no projects, no events, no restaurants, no backing out. Prepare for impact. And it says to prevent spike spending before and after the blackout, we ask that all participants purchase goods needed from community owned stores and markets leading up to and after the dates. This helps with sustained impact and keeps our money out of the mega businesses' pockets. Coordinated national pushback, maximum local impact. And I know we're doing this for a week, but I'm like, why keep it to a week? Why not during this week make it more long term to change our patterns going forward, right? Because what I see and what we haven't, maybe participated in are motels, right? Why don't we take this time to see where we're not invested in on a massive scale and start looking at the micro level and say, okay, there's a abandoned motel. Why is it abandoned? And is there entry business wise into this property to refurbish it, to update it so that you can get business there? Or, a gas station, right? A convenience store, things that we participate in, right? When I say participate, we spend our dollars there, but we're not on the other side of the counter benefiting that business, right? To reinvest right into our community. So those dollars, as she said, circulates into our communities. That's just me. That's what I'm asking for. I'm asking for mass blackout, period, beyond December 2nd. Let's let this go on, period. Because, see, until they start losing the black dollar, which has been unfortunately isolated from participating in businesses where we can circulate, right? Because we have individuals that are from foreign countries, specifically in the black community, to siphon off black dollars. If they weren't, why are they in our communities? Why aren't they in other communities, right? And why aren't we the ones in our communities that own the gas stations, that own the corner stores, right? That own the cleaners? I'm just talking about ownership. They might say, okay, you can have the little barber shop over there or a hair salon over there, but not a nail salon, right? That has completely different demographic that comes into our neighborhoods to siphon off that dollar because they know that, women, especially black women, we like to look good. We want our nails done. We want our hair done. We want to look beautiful. That's just who we are, right? That's just what I've grown up with. No cap or whatever they say, but that's who we are. But they've learned how to benefit off of our dollars, and that's going to stop. We're not going to patronize your businesses anymore. We're going to patronize people that look like us because we want to keep those dollars circulated in our community. And that shouldn't be a slight to anyone, right? You've got full Jewish communities that they always circulate their dollars. I don't Does anybody own a business in a Jewish community? The answer would be no. You probably don't, because they don't allow it. They will buy from themselves. They create grocery stores and, their own barber shops, their own hair salons, their own wig shops, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, because they're circulating the dollars in their community. And when they decide to spend money outside of their community, right? I'm sure they only go certain other places, right? Collectively, but there's no one coming into their community to specifically siphon off dollars out of their community. And if there is that going on, let me know. But as far as I know, that's not happening. And that is why their communities do so much better than our community, because they have the foresight and they have the wherewithal, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, to ensure that those dollars specifically stay in their communities so their community can benefit. And I do not have a problem with that, because I want all communities to be able to be built up, right, from within. That way, when you decide how much is going to go outside of your community, it doesn't hurt your community, right? It actually builds your community up. I'm okay with that. Totally okay with that. But as the Black community goes, we need to learn how to do that and not be ashamed of doing it, and not be made to feel ashamed if we are going to do it, right? Because what do you mean you're not going to buy from it? That's being racist. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because I'm not putting you down, right? Not putting you down for building up my own community. I just need to focus on building up our community. That's what we need to focus on. Whether you like this or not, it's a hard conversation to have, right? Because you need to be able to have it without being hateful. I'm not being hateful. I just want to make sure that my community's okay. And there should be nothing wrong with that. And Spud says, I have a good friend I grew up with in Miami, and he said we need to stop worrying about what the immigrants get and stop blaming the white man. Right, exactly. And just start focusing on us. And there's nothing wrong with it. And whenever somebody says, well, you guys can't do that, why not? Everybody else does. Do you ever hear about what's happening in the Chinese community? Oh, no, you don't, because where are they at? They're predominantly in the Black community. Why? Why are you selling us hair products that you don't even use? And why are we patronizing you? Right? We need to go out of our way to make sure that we are circulating our own dollars more than 6 times, right? So the money stays in our communities. Like, there is I want to say it's a farm, actually, not too far from where I live, that I've bought some fruits and vegetables from, and I try to just stay local. Every once in a while, I will hit up Kroger's because it's right up the street from my house. But I need to be more intentional about staying local, staying at my local farm and farmers market, especially during this time, and spending the dollars so that they circulate in our community. And if I don't need something, then I don't need it. And just keep it moving, right? And just keep it moving. But have the focus be on keep it in our community. That's something that we just have to do. So again, this is a call for November 25th, which is next Tuesday, until December 2nd. So that means no participating in Black Friday. My husband and I, we've decided to forego Thanksgiving and Christmas this year, just based on the economy and other things. But we're just like, no, we're not doing this year. We're not doing this. We are not going to give the how should we say, a lot of these businesses out here relief. And if we do, we're definitely going to focus on Black-owned businesses if we do spend any of our money. But yeah, we're foregoing the holidays this year. So I don't know if anybody else is going that far. Let me know. But yeah, it's getting to that point. So let's take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to get into some more news that I found that's happened, I guess, with this government shutdown that we should be aware of. So we will see you on the other side.
A life empowered is closer than you think. We're all looking for a better way. Reimagine what's next with a new sense of exuberance. Why not power on like you mean it? Or power off blissfully? A better sleep is a better awake. You've never moved like this before. With the energy nature intended. Imagine reprogramming the way you look at the speed of science. At longevity. At exhilaration. It's next level rejuvenation. Take your well-being from the inside out and outside in. The light within is ready to ignite. Be the light. LifeWave.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining us on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. And Cajun Lady says, I'm on the same page. Only buy local and smaller American-owned businesses. It's possible with discipline. I've been doing this for a couple of years. No regrets. Thank you so much for that. Let's everybody know it's doable. And it may be a little bit more inconvenient, right? When you first get started, because we get into a pattern, right? And we just get used to doing things a certain way. And it's like, well, this seems so much easier, right? Just to go around the corner. But when you take that little bit of extra effort, it goes a long way. You know, it keeps that small business open. Competing with the bigger box stores. And Dr. C is joining us this morning. She says, greetings, founder. Greetings to you too, Dr. C. Thank you so much for joining us here. And now we're going to get into some news that I heard about over the weekend, and it was going into the weekend. Now, this happened during the government well, I shouldn't say during the government shutdown, as we were coming out of the government shutdown. This was kind of slipped in there under the radar. And I was like, what is this? And I was like, okay, I got to share this with you guys. Definitely something I was not aware of, but I need to make you guys definitely aware of this. So let's check it out.
Nightmares have just become reality. The federal government shutdown has finally come to an end, but both parties, Democrats and Republicans, have inserted a sneaky THC hemp ban into H.R. 5371, the supposedly clean resolution appropriations bill, which is meant to fund various federal agencies as well as ensure that the government continues to operate. But instead, after the longest government shutdown in recorded history, we see at the end of it all, Republicans and Democrats took steps to ban hemp THC and destroy a billion-dollar industry pretty much overnight.
Good evening, everyone. A federal ban on hemp-derived THC products could cause the hemp industry to wilt. The deal to reopen the government included legislation that would reverse what some perceive as a loophole in the 2018 Farm Bill.
Our Sarah Minkwitz caught up with a legal expert in the cannabis industry to break down what this could mean locally. Sarah.
Stephen Kelsey, legal expert Joe Schaefer, tells me if this passes, it could upend the hemp industry in New York State. He says it's already struggling despite the success in the adult use cannabis industry.
Now that's a running theme that we will see across this episode. Multiple states, even legal states, both legal and prohibitionist states, you'll find that they're going to suffer a lot of issues when it comes to this hemp ban. They're going to lose profits, jobs are going to be lost, people are going to lose medicines, and it's going to be a massive problem. Now what I found really interesting is that in a situation like this, where the federal government has been shut down for so long, over a month, we're finding a lot of these reasons that they need to reopen the government as valid. People need to be paid, military families need to be paid. Flight coordinators, they're going to be paid as well. A lot of these issues with federal and military families not being paid, workers being furloughed, all that stuff is obviously not good. But sneaking in a hemp ban that nobody asked for, that's absolutely crazy.
Buried deep inside the text of the bill is a measure at taking down a nearly $30 billion U.S. industry. Brandon Gomez joins us now to talk me through this. All right, what is in that bill?
Yeah, so you have to look at the fine print, right? First, we have to understand, though, how we got here. So there's language in the 2018 Farm Bill, passed under the first Trump administration, that legalized hemp. Now, that's the non-intoxicating cousin of marijuana. But without getting too into the weeds, that's also opened the door for chemists to extract compounds and create products that work around the law, still mimic the intoxicating effect of cannabis. Think THC gummies or beverages.
So there's been a lot of back and forth when it comes to this particular issue. And we've seen an instance where both Kentucky senators, Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul, were both going at it. They were sparring because both of them wanted different things. Rand Paul, Republican, was calling for the hemp ban language to be removed from the bill, whereas Mitch McConnell was pushing for that ban.
Instead of a clean CR, this bill contains language that has been airdropped in that will destroy hemp farming in Kentucky and across the United States. Tucked away on page 163, Title 7, Division B of this spending package is a provision that will shut down the hemp industry across the United States. My amendment would strip the provision designed to regulate the hemp industry to death. The bill as it now stands overrides the regulatory frameworks of several states, cancels the collective decisions of hemp consumers, and destroys the livelihoods of hemp farmers. And it couldn't come at a worse time for America's farmers. Times are tough for our farmers. Farmers' costs have increased as the price of fertilizer and machinery have jumped, while prices for their crops like soybean, corn, and wheat have declined. For many farmers, hemp has proved to be a lifeline, a new cash crop. Farmers turn to growing hemp to mitigate the losses they've endured during this season of hardship. But that lifeline may soon be extinguished by this very legislation. The effective hemp ban included in this spending package is a result, we are told, of bad actors skirting the legal limits by overly enhancing the concentration of THC in their products. The hemp industry, myself and others, have come together and we have been willing to negotiate to get rid of the bad actors. And yet, instead, we are met with legislation that would be prohibition.
Now, like I say time and time again, and as I've already seen in tons of comments over on social media, a lot of folks are blaming the Republicans for this. But what I found interesting is that it's a Republican, along with another Republican, Ted Cruz, who stood up against.
Okay, so let's just make a distinction. Sorry. Rand Paul is a libertarian. He is not a Republican. And I know a lot of people think he is because a lot of times his vote is almost deciding, right, between what happens between Republicans and Democrats. And they're like, well, he's usually along with the Republican Party. He's a libertarian. Okay, it's dying the wool. That's who he is. Always has been, always will be. He is not a Republican. But he usually gets thrown in with the Republicans because he's pretty much the only libertarian in the Senate. Now, Ted Cruz is a Republican. So this commentator, when he's speaking, just keep that in mind. Rand Paul is a libertarian. He is not a Republican. And with that, Cajun Lady says the government can't profit off hemp. And that's why they want it banned permanently. This also puts hardship on American farmers. It has nothing to do with intoxication. McConnell has a big pharma war chest. Yeah. And to your point, Cajun Lady, I really think it's about pharma. This is about pharma because they're losing money, right? With the induction, I'm saying, sorry if I'm saying this wrong, the introduction of hemp products. And this was maybe where they were talking about how parents started giving their children low trace amounts of THC to help with their seizures, and they helped wean them off of seizure medication. It led to like liver problems allegedly and kidney problems allegedly and different things like that because the medications that they were being given were harming their children and wasn't helping. So some parents started giving their children low trace amounts of hemp products, THC or whatever, very well below legal limits, but it started to help their children. Big Pharma's mad. The medical industry is just on fire. Like, how dare you walk away from us? If anything we need to walk away from during this mass blackout is the pharmaceutical industry and the medical industry as well. Walk away from them. Hospitals, everything. We need to do better at taking care of ourselves, right? Through healthy eating, through healthy nutraceuticals, we need to do these things because they truly want us enslaved. Period. Whether that's with consumer products or healthcare, health products, all of it. And Cajun Lady said, you nailed it. All roads lead back to pharma. They do. They do. And to your point, Cajun Lady, McConnell has a big pharma war chest, and he doesn't care if this man's retiring. He is walking away from all of this. So he is going to leave the steaming pile that the American people are going to be subjected to. But this is a $30 billion industry. Not 30,000, not 300,000, not 30 million, 30 billion with a B. Okay? Big Pharma is all about the dollar at the end of the day. And they want people to be subject to their products and their products alone. If they could, honestly, if they could have legislation written that said, I think it was the guy from Pfizer, he was like, yeah, we're trying to figure out a pill that you can take that will literally transmit to your doctor if you're taking the prescribed medication that they prescribe to you or not. They want that. Like, they want legislation for that. Like, are you serious? Yeah, like that's how much control they want over each human being. So they can control where the dollars go, how you're acting, what you're doing, what you're putting in your body, what you're not. What is wrong with you? We're not your slaves. We're not your subjects. We're citizens. And we need to continue this fight. But let's continue on with the video.
The ban, and the top Democrats from Washington and New Hampshire, they actually opposed it. They opposed any amendments that will remove the hemp ban language. In other words, they were all for the hemp ban. Those top Democrats were in favor of the hemp ban. So before you guys go laying blame on one person or the other, or even President Trump, who did sign it into law, we need to go back to Congress, because those are the folks who actually pushed the ban and decided the wording on that ban. And let's not forget that just a couple weeks ago, 39 attorney generals from multiple states, both Democrats and Republicans, wrote to Congress asking them to close this loophole. Now, we're going to dig into the details of this bill and the exact wording in a bit, but before we do, I know that some of you guys are saying that it's not going to affect certain products, only intoxicating hemp products. But guys, there are products that will be affected by this ban, even if they have THC in it. I'm talking things like topicals, lotions, even seltzers. Have a look.
Tucked away in a bill to reopen the federal government is a provision that would ban nearly all hemp products, okay? As Brady Williams reports, local businesses are worried that a whole industry could be wiped out.
Well, you probably heard me more than once come out here and talk about these products being banned one way or another. usually at the state level. Well, this time it is the federal government that is looking to ban a vast majority of these products. And folks are concerned because it is attached to that government shutdown reversal, and they say it's very likely that it's going to wipe out their stores.
No one's going to say, don't open the government for the hemp industry.
Kristen Perry, owner of Kentucky Botanical Company, says her livelihood is wrapped up in a bill to reopen the government after the longest shutdown in history. She sells hemp-derived products that could be banned in 12 months as part of that bill.
It would obliterate absolutely the entire industry. It would be starting over from nothing.
And those are sentiments that we see echoed across multiple states. From Wisconsin to Kentucky to New York, there's a lot of states that are facing and battling with this current issue. Now, there's a little bit of a silver lining, and that is that we have 1 year before the ban actually goes into force, and during that year we can see negotiations, we can see implemented regulations, we can see a number of things that may happen, especially if the hemp industry pushes back.
Okay, well, today, Congress is moving to close that hemp loophole. The new measure tucked into the funding bill would ban those intoxicating hemp-derived products, too. Now, if passed, the bill gives companies a 1-year off-ramp, rare for a ban, but likely to adjust or push for clearer regulation. Executives saying to me that's actually a good thing, meant to give good actors here an opportunity to establish guardrails similar to the alcohol industry. Now, the worry is if the bill passes and nothing is changed, the legal market will go dark and business goes underground. Tilray issuing a statement condemning misguided prohibitionist measures and calling instead for responsible hemp regulations. And that's the concern, Contessa. The debate over the language by Congress even pitted Kentucky senators against one another. Rand Paul calling it a death blow to hemp farmers, McConnell on the opposite side. We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar hemp market for nearly 24 states, though, that already have their own hemp product laws that will stay in effect at least for the next year or so.
So we have about a year before this law comes into effect. And like I said, it'll impact tons of different states across America, from Kentucky to Tennessee to Florida, even over in California. And like I said, I want to show you guys the exact text of this bill and break down what it'll all mean. But before we do, just a quick reminder, if you're getting value from this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support us further, join the ICANN VIP Bean Club or just buy us a cup of coffee. And if you happen to be a home gardener, try the ICANN Organics, use the code LEGAL. It works on the bundle and the beans.
Bill to end the government shutdown includes an unusual add-on, a ban on hemp-based THC products. 12 News has done numerous stories about the booming popularity of those products legalized in 2018, including some THC drinks. But as 12 News' Nick Bohr reports, this addition to the shutdown bill would suddenly make them all illegal.
Legalized in a 2018 federal farm bill, hemp-based THC drinks and gummies, known also as Delta 8 and 9, exploded in popularity, now sold nearly everywhere in Wisconsin. But that could soon drastically change.
To just shutter it in a year would be devastating.
Matt Swanson talked with 12 News and
here's the other part of it. The reason why, in my opinion, they're going after this industry is because it's easy for them to do it. Right. And Big Pharma actually has lobbied, right, to have this shut down. It's crazy. But the other thing that I see is like they were just losing a lot of money. People were starting to shift to say, you know what, this is working for me. This is helping me. Right. And so they started using less and less of the chemical based products that were working against their bodies and said, you know what, I want to use something that's actually going to benefit my body. And some people use that. I use the hemp seeds, you know, and I might put them on a salad or, you know, use them for my milk because my tummy reacts badly to cashews. And I'm trying to, you know, do more of a plant-based diet. And it was like, my tummy is like, no, we're not doing that. Right. So I found that hemp seeds are very gentle to my system. And it helps me. So whenever I want a milk-based product, right, so to speak, I use hemp seeds. That's just kind of my go-to. And for some other people, but some other people use the low THC products. I knew somebody who had Crohn's disease, and he actually developed his own CBD oil. This was way before the products were even on the market, right, to be sold. He was way ahead of. He was like one of the pioneers. In this whole CBD industry, but it helped him, and he used his own oils to help with his Crohn's disease. So it does help people, So again, why now? That's my only, it's always the timing. And you snuck it in. You did exactly what you accused Democrats of doing. And Democrats, too, were in on this, by the way. So they're not absolved from immunity on this, but it's the way you're moving. You don't want a separate bill to deal with this. I mean, I'm glad it's going to take a year, but hopefully in a year they will be able to, shut this down so that the $30 billion industry can continue to grow and profit and give people options. Because pharma should not be the only option.
February about his business, Drinkin' Buds, when sales of their canned THC cocktails were closing in on 1 million cans a year. But language inserted this week into the bill ending the government shutdown would outlaw the hemp-based products like his nationwide.
This feels about as un-American as it gets. I mean, the day after Veterans Day, as a U.S. veteran, I feel like our government is stabbing me and the other veterans and other Americans in the industry right in the back on this.
It wouldn't just be the supplier end, of course, that would be impacted. The industry's advanced to the point where there are entire storefront businesses like Kelly's Greens here in Wauwatosa that would be severely impacted.
Now, there are tons of folks who say, oh, they're just going after intoxicating hemp products. They're not intoxicating hemp, they're not going after that. But you guys need to understand that there are tons of products that have trace amounts of THC in it. And some of those are CBD products, CBG products. And those products will now be banned under this new change.
I will not sit back and watch these products that I have watched benefit this community and personally myself be taken away from us.
First at 6, hemp store owners fear their products will be wiped from shelves.
This, as a provision in the federal spending bill that already passed the U.S. Senate, would essentially ban all hemp-derived THC products.
Our Lighthouse reporter Ben Jordan spoke with Aaron about her concerns as a state lawmaker shares why he believes it's time to close a legal loophole that allows Wisconsinites to purchase products that can get them high.
All of the products are made right here in the state of Wisconsin.
CBD and THC products come in all forms at Kelly's Greens in Wauwatosa. Desserts, gummies, and drinks, to name a few.
We also offer a full series of seltzers.
But Aaron Kelly fears a federal ban.
Every single product in here would be outlawed.
Would put her out of business and force her customers to cross state lines where marijuana is legal.
So are we saying that a mother giving her child CBD because there is a trace amount of THC, a plant that has been grown in this country for thousands of years and helped millions of people, that's a crime? I don't think so.
So guys, this is an issue that's affecting tons of folks, not just stoners, typical stoners, but also medical patients, a lot of parents who need these products to actually give their children relief. There are a lot of older folks, veterans, you guys heard it in those clips yourself. And as all this comes to a head, there are certain states such as Ohio who are saying that they simply may not comply.
Vision in the congressional deal may impact businesses in Ohio, hemp businesses in particular. Ohio's been debating THC policy for years with a recent focus on intoxicating hemp with low-level THC.
The U.S. Senate's deal banned the product. Columbus Bureau reporter Morgan Trow has been covering each development with marijuana hemp policy in our state, and she says that everyone from sellers to legislative leaders is evaluating these impacts.
It will likely be dealt with on a state level, like marijuana.
While marijuana is illegal for purposes of federal law, the federal government doesn't have the resources, doesn't have the personnel to go after individual retailers, individual buyers, let alone individual users.
Adrian Robbins supports legal marijuana, but is anti-hemp and says that the ban should be enforced in Ohio.
We think this is an issue of public health for both adults and children, to be clear, when it comes to these unregulated products.
But if we aren't enforcing federal law with marijuana,
should we be enforcing it with hemp?
Yeah, it's a good question. In fact, a couple of people asked that today. Is like, well, we can do whatever we want regarding hemp. Now, are we going to go around and start cuffing 17-year-old clerks at gas stations? No, but we've...
Now, historically, hemp was used for clothes. It was used for building materials. It was used for lots of different things. And they've been going after hemp for a long time because it can replace things. right? And people can grow it. They truly want people enslaved. They do not want us independent. And that's why they're going after this specifically.
Got to get this thing in shape.
And that right there is a great point, guys. When it comes to regulation, who's going to carry out the enforcement? Federal officers are probably not going to be going to tons of smoke shops across different states just to see if you're selling THCA, especially if you're in an already legal state. But nonetheless, the laws are the laws, and a lot of folks will not necessarily want to break the laws, so tons of businesses will be shut down.
Twist in the shutdown deal. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul's push to remove a hemp provision from the spending bill was voted down. Business owners across America say it could effectively collapse the hemp industry.
And the Ohio legislature was already working on a bill to regulate hemp in the state.
The spending debate could wipe out a multi-billion-dollar industry that might surprise you. The bill to reopen the government includes some strict regulation on THC. A business owner in Nodad tells Channel 9's Ken Lemon that he would have to close all of his stores if the House approves this bill tomorrow.
The items in this warehouse supply 19 stores. Mike Sims says he has 100 people under his direct employment and even more contracted to work with him. All of that could end with a yes vote on what may be the most watched resolution in Congress in years.
The nays are 40.
The almost certain vote to reopen the government feels like a slow march to a business crash for Mike Sims, owner of Crown Town Cannabis.
This will wipe out our entire livelihood. We have to fight this.
He wants SNAP benefits returned, air travel to resume, and pay for government employees. He said most people.
And I just want to pause it right there real quick. Sorry, guys. But it's like you've got a small business owner and he's employing other people. That's what keeps our economy going. Not everybody working at Walmart, for example. Just saying, just putting that out there. And sincerely, Lawless, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We're posting the stream. She says, good morning, founder, and good morning to you too. And Cajun Lady says, hemp isn't a moneymaker for them. That's why they want to ban it. Exactly. Because it diverts money and it gives us independence to continue to grow. So we've got to continue to fight this, guys. So, reach out to your senators in your state, send them emails and say, why did you vote for this? Why did you try to ban this? And I haven't pulled it up yet, like who voted for it and who voted against it, but we can definitely look in Congress.gov to see who voted for this ban and who didn't, right? Because they never want us to find out what they're actually doing. And it's kind of funny to me. It's like, dude, all your stuff is public. Like, we're going to find out who you are, and we're going to remember what you've done, and we're going to make sure that you do not get back into office. 2026 is coming. Okay. And we're going to be beating this drum daily of who not to put back into office.
People don't know about the cannabis regulation added to the budget bill.
And that's something that I've also noticed, because a lot of folks are simply not aware of this hemp ban. If you ask the general public whether they're aware of this THC hemp ban that was tied into this government shutdown, a lot of folks will say no, they had no idea about it whatsoever. And I mean, that's clear from some of the posts and stuff that I see on social media, where in the comment sections, all they're talking about is other issues, but not the hemp ban.
Congress is also moving to ban almost.
And I just want to take a quick poll from those that are watching me this morning. Like, what do you think is more important, the Epstein files or this ban? Because see, if the Epstein files get released and we find out who's in there, who's trash, that we know who's trash anyway, allegedly, that's not putting food on anybody's table. And that's not taking money away from people who could be better off. But this ban, this affects a $30 billion industry. And they just kind of pushed it in there. And a lot of these clips that he's showing, they're from local news stations. I haven't seen this on ABC, National, or CBS, because they're always usually like out there with their chest puffed up, right? Saying and just trying to protect the people. Where have you been? What are you doing? Why aren't you talking about this? Huh? Where y'all at? Where you at? Why aren't you talking about this? And if you are, and let me know, send it to me. But again, I'd like to take a poll from you guys. What's more important, the Epstein files or this THC ban?
All hemp products that contain THC nationwide. It's tucked into that new spending deal that's heading to the House. Experts say this would have a significant impact on Texas. According to the Texas Hemp Business Council, the industry has created $5.5 billion in revenue.
The fight continues over THC products in the state. So-called hemp ban making it to the deal now to end the government shutdown, and it's putting CBD shop owners on edge. Our Kansas Capitol Bureau Chief Rebecca Chung spoke to those advocates today. And why do they say it could lead to the downfall of the industry?
Yeah, David, right now it still remains to be seen how this could change or impact people selling hemp-derived THC products in Kansas. But one shop owner I spoke with says it could wipe out most of his store. Trevor Burdett owns several CBD shops across Kansas.
We actually started selling broad spec items that have trace amounts of THC.
Selling everything from THC drinks. This one is 100 milligrams of Delta-9 THC to candies.
Different gummies.
But all of that could soon be gone.
Anything that's going to be full or broad spectrum is going to be illegal.
So anything full spectrum, anything with trace amounts of THC in it. And as you guys know, full spectrum is really important. That's how everything, all the cannabinoids, all the trips, everything come together to give you that entourage effect. And that is what a lot of folks look for when they're trying to get relief from some of these products. So it's absolutely clear this is going to be an issue across multiple states, and it doesn't matter whether you're in a legal state or an illegal state. Lawmakers will have the choice to do whatever they want, especially when it comes to THC hemp products. Now, like I promised you guys, let's have a look at the exact wording of this bill because it's really interesting and also really important. Now, what I found really interesting about this whole thing is that this bill was not intended to even address the hemp issue in the first place. What this bill was in fact supposed to do is provide temporary government funding and extend various programs to prevent a shutdown as well as ensure continuity of operations. Even according to this, the key provisions include government funding, program extensions, Veterans Affairs, SNAP benefits, and federal employee pay. It says nothing about a THC hemp ban nationwide. But when we dig into the actual text of the bill, this is what we see: a federal hemp ban. Now, in order to execute this federal hemp ban, what they did was redefine hemp. And according to this, under the new definition, the term hemp means the cannabis sativa plant and any part of that plant, including the seeds thereof, all derivatives, extracts, cannabinoids, isomers, acids, salts, and salts of isomers, whether growing or not, with a THC concentration of not more than 0.3% on a dry weight basis. Now, under this new definition, the term hemp does include industrial hemp, that is hemp plants that are made for hempcrete, blocks, textiles, that sort of thing. So it makes it clear what hemp includes and excludes. And when it comes to the exclusions, it clearly excludes any viable seeds from a cannabis plant that exceeds a THC concentration of 0.3%. The new definition of hemp also excludes any hemp-derived cannabinoid products containing cannabinoids that are not capable of being naturally produced by a cannabis plant. Also, if they were synthesized or manufactured outside of the plant, that'll also be excluded from the definition and therefore banned. And they go even further as they don't just include THC, but also any other cannabinoids that have similar effects or are marketed to have similar effects on humans or animals. So if you're trying to promote some of these new products, Delta 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and you say, oh, it's going to get you high, you're going to feel really good about yourself, it'll ease pain, any of those stuff, it'll fall under this definition and therefore be banned. Now, there are also milligram caps of 0.4, which is really low compared to other places, and they really place a lot of focus on hemp-derived cannabinoid products. And of course, they define that too. The term hemp-derived cannabinoid product means any intermediate or final product derived from hemp other than industrial hemp, which contains cannabinoids in any form and is intended for human or animal use. And it doesn't matter whether you're inhaling, ingesting, or it's a topical application, it's all banned. Now, we've seen this term right here, industrial hemp. And industrial hemp is actually what they are favoring. They're pushing laws that favor industrial hemp over hemp-derived consumables. And of course, they described and defined industrial hemp. And according to this, industrial hemp means any hemp that's grown for the use of the stalk of the plant, fiber produced from such stalk, or any non-cannabinoid derivative, mixture, or preparation or manufacture of such stalk. They also speak about use of the whole grain, oil, cake, nut, hull, or any other non-cannabinoid compound, derivative, mixture, or preparation, as well as hemp plants that are grown for producing microgreens or other edible hemp leaf products intended for human consumption. All of those things are fine. In other words, anything that has to do with industrial hemp that does not get you high, that's not going to be consumed with that intention, that's fine. Now, a lot of folks express concerns about seeds. Are the seeds that were made legal under the 2018 Farm Bill now going to be made illegal under this new law? And it seems to me that under this wording, seeds will remain a gray area. In particular, it says that industrial hemp does include hemp that's grown for the use of a viable seed of the plant produced solely for the production or manufacture of any material described in subparagraphs A through D. So in other words, if you're growing hemp or seeds and it's solely for the use of the stalk of the plant, plant fibers, anything to make textiles or hempcrete blocks, anything that has to do with industrial hemp, then you should be fine. And that obviously begs the question, with feminized genetics, are feminized genetics now going to be under attack simply because there are no males in there? Those feminized genetics are usually made for flour, trying to get high THC content, extracts, all that sort of stuff, which is under this definition and excluded from the legal meaning of hemp. Now, it does.
Okay. And I want to just catch up to some of these comments where Spud says, Epstein files just confirm what we already knew, but this ban would be crucial. Hemp has the strength to replace cement and steel. He also says the medical use of hemp is a small pie. The construction industry has slowly integrated hemp products because it's a sustainable, equivalent alternative. Yes, industrial hemp. And Minnesota Fats, thank you so much for joining us this morning and reposting the stream.
Doesn't just stop there, guys, because under this new bill, they're also going after tons of cannabinoids. In fact, they actually say that 90 days after the enactment of this act, the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, in consultation with other relevant federal agencies, shall publish a list of all cannabinoids known to the FDA capable of being naturally produced by the plant. They'll also produce a list of all tetrahydrocannabinol class cannabinoids known to the agency to be naturally occurring in the plant. And on top of that, they'll also publish a list with all other known cannabinoids with similar effects to or marketed to have similar effects to THC. So basically, any cannabinoid that can give you that high feeling, or any cannabinoid that's similar to Delta 8, Delta 9, any of that stuff, they want that to be published in a list so that everyone knows what it is. And they're probably going to use that list to point to a bunch of substances and say, these are bad, they're banned, and you can get in tons of trouble if we find you selling them.
Lawmakers in D.C. are deciding whether to close the loophole in the 2018 Farm Bill and cap the limit on hemp-derived THC products at 0.4 milligrams.
It's not just total THC, it's what they consider any psychoactive cannabinoid. So right now, the big ones everyone's looking at is Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10. THCA is a big one that people are selling nowadays.
That would essentially whittle his store down to selling just the products left on this wall.
These are made with CBD isolate, which is going to be the only thing that we'd actually be able to use to manufacture any of our products.
So this is going to be a big problem affecting tons of products, and we'll have to see how this rolls out and whether there are any changes, whether regulations will be put into force rather than a ban. But again, we'll just have to wait and see. At this point, no one knows what's going to happen. But all that said, let me know what you guys think about everything that we discussed in today's video. Do you guys think that it's crazy that Congress, in a deal to reopen the government, had a federal THC hemp ban in there? A lot of folks are not happy with that, but I want to find out what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the
Yeah, I'm not, and this is the sad part. I'm really not shocked that they did this, because they do stuff like this when no one's paying attention to what they're doing. It's like, yeah, we got the Epstein files. Oh my gosh. And Trump and this and that and the other. And we're all like, okay, we're just trying to, watch all the juggling balls in the air. And while we're all over here, as they're wagging the dog, they're doing something that's affecting a completely different industry that has been trying to be built up for years. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, marijuana needs to be taken off of it's like a class. There's a particular class that they're under, like with cocaine and heroin and all these other things, right? It needs to be removed, period. And I'm not a smoker. I'm not advocating for anybody to do drugs. But what I am saying is marijuana is more than likely safer than people drinking alcohol or smoking cigarettes, which are legal, by the way. Okay, like cigarettes cause cancer. It's got all kinds of weird products in it. Anybody seen cigarettes banned lately? Bueller, right? And Spud says, rescheduled. Yeah, yeah. It needs to be taken off of there, but they don't want to. And it's the one thing, it actually grows naturally. Some things that are synthetic that they want you to ingest in your body that could kill you if you listen to any of these commercials or cause worse problems and the problem is trying to solve, they'd rather you take that. Listen to some of these commercials when you see in the pharmaceutical commercials. I listen to them and they're talking about all the things that could go wrong. And I'm like, well, what is it supposed to solve? My goodness. You can get thyroid cancer from some of these medications. I get thyroid cancer if I take it, but it's trying to cause something else. Like I wouldn't even risk it. I'd be like, no, I'm out. Thank you. No, I'm not putting anything that you've made into my body. So you can kill me and get me dependent on something that's going to kill me. And the treatment is sometimes worse than what they're trying to solve. Initially, that's wrong with you because, see, they're not trying to cure you. They're trying to get you into a lifestyle of treatment. That's totally different than actually going towards a cure. Now, that video was actually brought to us by, it's called the Legal News Network and ICANN TV, and you can check them out on YouTube. And what I wanted to check out was something, I did a little bit of research and I said, can you tell me which members of Congress have been lobbied to regulate THC based on the video and congressional records? So I dropped the video in here and I was like, so what are we really talking about? And this is the video provided titled Trump Just Banned Across America Seeds in Danger, right? And the provision buried in H.R. 5371, a government funding bill signed into law by Donald Trump, right, to end the shutdown. This provision effectively bans most hemp-derived THC products, what we've just discussed, by redefining hemp under the 2018 Farm Bill to exclude derivatives exceeding 0.3 delta 9 THC by dry weight or 0.4 milligrams total per serving. It includes a 1-year grace period for compliance, but threatens a $30 billion industry, right? Everything we just discussed. So here are the people and the lobbying details. So Mitch McConnell, sorry, he pushed aggressively for the ban to close a loophole and protect the original intent of the 2018 Farm Bill, which he co-authored to legalize hemp. Rand Paul strongly opposed it, calling it a death blow to Kentucky farmers. His amendment to strip the provision was rejected in the Senate vote. Ted Cruz joined Paul in voting against the ban, highlighting risk to agricultural jobs, right? And unnamed top Democrats from Washington and New Hampshire, right, supported the ban and voted against Paul's amendment, framing it as necessary to curb unregulated bad actor products. But you're okay with chemical products that kill people. You're okay with those people being in your back pocket. Yeah. You are okay with back pocket. So insights from the congressional records and lobbying disclosures, right? Congressional records and lobbying disclosures revealed that the ban resulted from intense multi-industry pressure to regulate hemp-derived THC as an unregulated competitor to alcohol and traditional marijuana markets. So again, these people were able to get entry due to the loophole, and the lobbyists were like, no, you need to shut it down. You need to shut it down. So we'll give you money to shut down this $30 billion industry, which is growing and actually helping people. I'm just saying, that's what they've done. So alcohol industry groups, the Beer Institute, Distilled Spirits Council, National Beer Wholesalers. Remember that veteran that shared that he had developed basically a seltzer that was counter to drinking beer. So you're messing with the beer industry's money. So they're like totally going against you now. So they ramped up efforts Q3 2025 advocating for a ban on intoxicating hemp beverages to protect regulated alcohol sales, with over 50 distributors signing letters to Congress. That's just the alcohol industry, you guys. Yeah, there's always somebody losing money and they're mad about it, as opposed to just competition. This is competition. Hey, alcohol groups, why aren't you doing your own derivative? Oh, you don't want to go against your own, but you don't want to innovate. Like, what are we doing? So you'd rather people be on alcohol, right? Than a different product. You don't want the competition. You don't want, and like Coca-Cola, when they see somebody in competition, they just buy it. And there's been a lot of products that I liked that I saw out there. I was like, oh wow, this is a new company. And then when I find out that industry like Coca-Cola or Pepsi has bought it, I stopped buying it. I will not purchase it anymore ever again. Ever. Because I'm like, I know what you guys put in your products. I don't want anything to do with your company. So thank you for letting me know. Not buying it, not putting it in my body. So maybe this is a good thing that they haven't, bought out companies like that. Marijuana industry and anti-hemp. Okay, so there's some anti-hemp advocates out there. Groups like Smart Approaches to Marijuana, SAM by Kevin Sabet, and established cannabis firms, right? Mad because other people have gotten entry, lobbied to eliminate hemp THC as a loophole competitor, pushing for stricter federal controls over state legal marijuana. Yeah, they do not want the competition, and they're lobbying so it can be anti-competition. Now, what do we talk about in this country? Capitalism. Everybody has the opportunity to make money, do we? Or when other people get mad, they just go to Congress and say, hey, you need to push these people out so they're not messing with our money because you don't want the competition. It's crazy. This is the stuff that's horrible. State Attorney General, a bipartisan coalition of 39 AGs, co-led across Arkansas, Tim Griffin, Connecticut, William Tong, and Indiana, Todd Rotica, sent a letter on October 24, 2025, to Senate appropriations leaders demanding Congress criminalize intoxicating hemp THC products to public health and prevent youth cases. Okay, I don't know of anybody dying like en masse or being injured by these products. If they have, I do apologize out there, but this is again about competition. And you're getting these AGs on board and involved to reduce competition, while at the same time telling people innovate and create things that create competition. But when it gets too much, that's when you're just like, you do this, but that's a little bit too much. Yeah. Food and beverage public health lobbies pressured for age restrictions, testing, and taxes, but ultimately backed the ban when regulatory alternatives failed. Yeah, now again, there have been parents that have moved across state lines with their children who have suffered massive seizures, given products that will totally destroy their bodies, put them on these chemicals. I wouldn't say chemicals, but these products that include a small derivative of THC, but it's more hemp than THC, that's helping their children not have the seizures. Okay, you're losing a whole mass industry of people. And I'm start going to call people an industry because that's how you treat us. You don't treat us like human beings. We are part of your economic industry to pull money and resources from to, maintain your lifestyle, basically. You don't want people healthy. You don't want people to live. You want to watch them die on chemicals that you've created and be like, oh, well, we're sorry. I guess we'll get it right next time. I mean, that's who you are. It's disgusting. So these efforts targeted Appropriations Committee leaders and key agricultural influencers as the provision was inserted into the spending bill, right? Open secret data shows broader cannabis-related lobbying surged in 2024 and 2025. 624,000 from National Cannabis Roundtable, 610,000 from Coalition for Cannabis Policy. But specific disclosures for HR 5371 focus on the pro-ban coalition rather than the pro-hemp groups, right? Hemp Roundtable, which lobbied passage for repeal. So they've been doing this since last year. You've been doing this since last year? How do we know there was going to be a shutdown? How do we know there was going to be inserted into this? I mean, is this stuff just orchestrated? Do you guys just have this stuff on speed dial? Like, yeah, we'll create this and we'll create that and we'll put. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. Because it's too coordinated when you look back at the timelines of a lot of this stuff. Y'all ain't slut. You are not getting away with anything. Exposure is everything. So based on the video, bill debates, AG letters, and lobbying reports, the following members were directly involved or targeted for the regulatory ban. Lobbied to regulate. Here aligns with the pro-ban push as full deregulated was opposed by these groups. Anti-ban lobbying targeted opponents like Paul, right? So Mitch McConnell, he led the insertion of the ban, right? Andy Harris, who's another Republican, originated provision in House agriculture funding bill pushed by the food and beverage and anti-marijuana groups, supported GOP leadership. Patty Murray, who's a Democrat in Washington, Senate Appropriations Chair, top Democrat, who backed the ban. So there's one of your Democrats who backed the ban. AG letter code targeted appropriations alcohol lobbies engaged on beverage regulations in her jurisdiction. So the beer people were like, yeah, you got to get rid of this stuff that's going to compete with us. So you have our support in your upcoming elections. You need to get back in office, right? This is how companies are able to vote. They buy these people. You're bought and paid for. And you're supposed to be there representing the American people. And we know you are not. This is such good exposure. Susan Collins, Senate Appropriations Vice Chair, directly addressed the AG letter. Bipartisan, AG push for decisive action on hemp loophole. Yeah, Republican. Jeannie Shaheen, appropriations member, top Democrat from New Hampshire, favored the ban, right? Pressured by in-state AG John Formella and alcohol lobbies, New Hampshire's strict THC laws aligned with federal push. Yeah, they don't want that competition. Maggie Hassan, who's also a Democrat in New Hampshire, appropriations committee, aligned with Shaheen on the ban support. Yeah. So they were against the ban was Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, and Ron Wyden. Ron Wyden, he was against it. And he's another Democrat. I said, is the medical industry lobbying also? I won't get too far deep into this. And if you guys want a copy of this particular search that I did with Grok, so you can go over it, let me know, and I'll email it to you. Just email me at unfilteredvisionnews@gmail.com. All right. So yes, elements of the medical industry have been actively involved in lobbying efforts related to regulation and effective ban of hemp-derived THC products under HR 5371. While the push has been led by alcohol, marijuana, and state attorneys generals, medical stakeholders, particularly those focused on public health, youth protection, and drug safety, have contributed through advocacy for stricter controls to address unregulated intoxicating cannabinoids. This aligns with broader concerns about, pediatric exposures, lack of FDA oversight, and potential health risk from synthetic or high potency THC analogs. And who I would like to hear from on this is RFK, with MAHA. Like, where do you guys even stand on this? Because I don't see HHS involved in any of this. And obviously they can't be lobbied because they're not really in Congress. They're not making the final decision on laws. But I'd like to see, where do they stand on this ban and how it's going to affect this industry? Because MAHA is really all about obviously getting the killer chemicals out of our food supply, right? Getting products that are banned in other countries out of our food supply that we're okay with, right? Fixing that whole mess. Where do you guys stand on this ban? that's going on. When you're really into things that are holistic and alternative, right? So, key medical industry lobbying details. So, the public health and anti drug advocacy groups, organizations like Smart Approaches to Marijuana, which we talked about before, led by former Obama administrator, drug policy advisor Kim Sabat, have lobbied aggressively for the ban. Sam frames unregulated hemp THC as junk products that mimic marijuana's effects. Huh? Without safety standards, targeting youth and exacerbating public health issues. Why are you bringing the youth into it? You always want to say it's for the babies, but you'll sell them cigarettes and alcohol, and you'll do all kind of other stuff to their bodies. You'll inject them with chemicals that will kill them at birth. But this is a problem. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. You got to see like who's really advocating to help us. Because the same people here are the same people that are like, hey, yeah, we need to inject your infant with like 10, vaccines at birth, like day one. Inject them full of poison. And then later on, we'll give them a pill to help with any ailments that they got from that poison. And then we'll keep giving them pills just to keep them alive. We're never going to cure them. We'll just keep treating them. I'm just saying, this is what we're doing. Professional medical associations have been lobbying. Pharmaceutical companies, Big Pharma has ramped up cannabinoid-related lobbying in 2025, spending significantly on issues like marijuana rescheduling from Schedule 1 to expand medical cannabis access and protect patents on THC-derived therapies, right? For there's Epidiolex for epilepsy. So they'd rather you have this than something that naturally occurs. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just saying. Oh, whew. Yeah, y'all are a mess. So disclosures from Q3 2025 show pharma firms like Jazz Pharmaceuticals and GP Pharmaceuticals lobbying Congress on hemp regulations, viewing unregulated THC as a competitor to FDA-approved cannabinoid drugs. So here's the thing, and this is just my opinion. There is a difference between something that's given to us an alternative than a drug. So you're fighting for the drugs because these THC products aren't drugs. Just saying. They supported the AG's October 24th letter urging a ban, arguing it would drive consumers toward regulated medical channels rather than gas station edibles. Yeah, because they want your money. They don't want you free. That's all I'm saying. Give people the option. If they want to get something from a gas station that they can use, fine. Now, I know creatine, that was something that RFK brought up because a lot of people were getting addicted to it and messed up by it. And so he was like, yeah, there's certain creatine that's safe. There's certain creatine that's not. Let's find the ones that are safe and make sure that those are out there to help people. But the ones that are unsafe, let's get those off the shelf so people are protected. But he didn't say we're just going to cut off the whole industry. Yeah. Some pharma interests lobbied for regulation over outright prohibition to allow room for hemp in non-intoxicating medical applications like CBD for pain management. Well, that's good that there were some, but their voices obviously weren't heard, right? So I did say, have THC products affected the pharmaceutical and medical industry? Yes. THC products, both medical cannabis derived from hemp, derived variants like Delta 8, have profoundly affected the pharmaceutical and medical industries. These impacts span economic disruption through competition, opportunities in drug development and partnerships, shifts in clinical practices, and emerging health risks. As of 2025, the global cannabis pharmaceuticals market is projected to grow from 6.3 billion in 2024 to 9.4 billion, reflecting rapid integration into pharma pipelines while challenging traditional revenue streams. It all comes back to money and the lobbying. Let me see if I asked any other questions. I said, aren't there laws prohibiting government from regulating things that occur in nature? And it was like, no. I thought there was, like they couldn't just like take certain things, but apparently there's a Toxic Substance Abuse Act and various other things. So I was like, okay, right. And what hemp narrowly defines cannabis is stalks or fiber, seeds and derivatives, immature plants and microgreens are or edible leaves, plants for research, a viable seed solely for producing the above materials, right? But they're trying to narrow it and shut it down, like I said, for a reason. And in my opinion, they are doing this so they have more control over what we ingest, why we ingest it. I said, why is this being done now? And why isn't this being more publicized? So the provision redefining hemp to effectively ban most intoxicating hemp-derived THC products was inserted at the 11th hour into the bipartisan government funding bill signed by President Trump on November 13th to end the longest federal shutdown in U.S. history. This timing wasn't coincidental. It leveraged the high-stakes urgency of averting a shutdown where lawmakers had limited time to scrutinize must-pass legislation, making controversial add-ons harder to strip out. Now, this is why the Democrats were holding out. They were holding out on it funding the ACA back to pandemic level spending, right? That was part of their holdout. Also, they wanted to hold out to refund PBS to give them $500 million. Okay. They also wanted some other provisions like $90 million for security. They called it security training, but it was for security for members of Congress. It was $90 million for that in their $1.5 trillion that they wanted inserted into this CR that got stripped out. They tapped out, but this got put in. And for me, I'm like, I should have said, was there more coordination, right? Because that's what I think this was all about. This was definitely about coordination and inserting something that shouldn't have been there. It's like, did they have us holding out for 45 days so they could do that? Was that what this was all about? Or was it about the 1.5 trillion? Because see, the ACA funds the insurance companies, right? Because we gotta pay them to keep the insurance costs low. It's never gonna be that. You're throwing money. It's almost like throwing water on a grease fire. It's not gonna go out. You need some baking soda. You know what I'm saying? You need another chemical in there to shut down the fire. But you keep throwing water on a grease fire, which is the ACA, and it just keeps getting worse and nobody's being helped. That's the best way I can describe it. Was this about that? Or was it about this? I'm just saying. We always find out later on what some of these shutdowns were always about. And Sassy Lady, thank you so much for joining us this morning and reposting the stream. Now we're going to continue on because there is some other news that I want to cover. And I don't know about you guys, but this real quick, we're going to talk about Epstein real quick because, that's what we're doing. So Trump says the House GOP should vote to release the Epstein files, right? And a lot of people are like, he says no. Again, I don't care. I know that sounds sad. Unless anybody's going to go to jail, why are we here? Release it all. Okay, Prince Andrew, he got his crown removed. He got his crown removed for a reason, y'all. It wasn't because nothing happened. It's because something happened. And they were like, yeah, you've got to be removed. Nobody's talking about that. It was like a millisecond and that was gone. Okay. So there's that. But releasing this, what is it really going to do? Are we going to be satisfied? Okay, yeah, I always knew that guy was trash. And so what? It's not putting food on anybody's table. It's not lowering the, massive inflation that we have. It's not doing anything to help anyone. But you just have this insatiable desire to just see how corrupt these people really are. We know how corrupt they really are. Do we really need to know anymore? You know, is anybody talking about how Bill Gates was hanging around with Epstein a lot? You know, he just admitted about injecting GMOs into the little kids on video saying these things, by the way. Yeah. But we care so much about these files. Again, so President Donald Trump said House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files on Sunday, saying that the party has nothing to hide. All right, release it. I don't care. We don't care anymore because in my opinion, unless you're going to send anybody to jail, what are we talking about? If nobody's going to prison, what are we talking about? I don't care anymore. It's just dumb. So the House is set to vote this week on a measure to release the files that was forced via a discharge petition. So Representative Tom Massey, who's a Republican, and Representative Ro Khanna, who's a Democrat, led the effort, which received signatures from 4 Republicans, including Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene in Georgia. Many Republicans representatives were reportedly expected to vote in favor of the file release before Trump's statement. Okay. So for context, Greene, a Trump feuded publicly over the weekend after Trump called Greene far left and a traitor. Greene, who said she received death threats after Trump's comments, attributed Trump's targeting of her to her support for releasing the Epstein files. On Friday, Trump ordered the Justice Department to investigate Epstein ties to several prominent Democrats. In September, the House Oversight Committee released more than 33,000 pages of documents. Okay, so, all right, what are we talking about? Tied to the investigation of Epstein, though almost all the content was already publicly available. Yeah, they released a lot of this stuff in 2011, by the way. So on Wednesday, the committee released over 20,000 pages of documents provided by Epstein's estate. Many other documents and materials pertaining to the Epstein investigation have been released throughout 2025. But again, a lot of this stuff was released like 14 years ago. You can go back and watch old episodes of InfoWars with Alex Jones. He was talking about this years ago, over a decade ago. Yeah. Been talking about it. What? It's crazy. So Trump role in Truth Social, as I said on Friday night, aboard Air Force One to the fake news media, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide. And it's time to move on from this Democratic hoax perpetrated by radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party, including our recent victory on the Democrat shutdown, he added. Let's start talking about the Republican Party's record-setting achievements and not fall into the Epstein trap, which is actually a curse on the Democrats, not us. Because again, Democrats, they had well amounts of time. Okay? Epstein was dead. Why didn't y'all release some things then? Look, you could have spent your 4 years House, Senate, executive branch, which Democrats you had, because you shoved a lot of stuff through, and Kamala Harris or Representative VP Harris, she was there, breaking tie votes, pushing stuff through down everybody's throat. Happened. CARES Act, Inflation Reduction Act, the Green New Deal, all that stuff. Rammed it down Americans' throats. Okay? Period. Pushed everything through. Why weren't y'all releasing this then? If you had Trump by the stones, if you had him by the stones, why are you coming out now acting like, oh my gosh, I can't believe? Stop that. If you had all of this, why didn't you release it then? Because you don't have anything. Okay, this is what I call a whole trope. I'm gonna call it like I see it. Right? So many, and this is how the media covered it. Many outlets from the left and center prominently framed Trump's move as a reversal and noted it came as Republicans were reportedly expected to vote in favor of releasing the files. Outlets from the right generally did not do this, except for the New York Post that leans right bias, which described Trump's comments as a stunning reversal. Really? Was it? Was it really? I don't know. I think it's weird. I think it's weird, and we're moving on. So I wanted to get to this though. So MTG, she's talking about she's receiving death threats, and she wrote a Trump wrote on Truth Social, "I'm withdrawing my support and endorsement of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene over the past 3 weeks, despite my creating record achievements for our country. All I see wacky Marjorie do is complain, complain, complain. Conservative people are thinking about primarying Marjorie in her district of Georgia, that they are fed up with her and her antics. And if the person and if the right person runs, they will have my complete and unyielding support." She has gone far left, even doing The View with their low IQ Republican hating anchors. Wow. So here's MTG. Green addressed the situation via two X posts on November 15. Green wrote, "I never thought that fighting to release the Epstein files, defending women victims of rape, and fighting to expose the web of rich, powerful elites would have caused this. But here we are. The toxic political industrial complex thrives on ripping us all apart and but never delivers anything good for the American people whom I love." A few hours later, she wrote, "A hotbed of threats against me are being fueled and egged on the most powerful man in the world, the man I supported and helped get elected. As a Republican who overwhelmingly votes for President Trump's bills and agendas, his aggression against me, which also fuels the venomous nature of his radical internet trolls, many of whom are paid. This is completely shocking to everyone." So, for context, Green has long been one of Trump's most staunch supporters, and she has, and allies in Congress. In recent weeks, Green has split from Trump on certain key issues, such as the Epstein files in Israel, and has questioned whether Trump is putting America first. Right? Last week, she was one of 4 House Republicans who joined Democrats in signing a petition that called for the release of the Epstein files. 2 weeks ago, she appeared on The View, where she criticized Republican leadership and called for more bipartisan cooperation. Right? So, yeah, she did that. And this is how it was covered. The story was widely covered by outlets, the BBC, which is center bias, which might be sued for altering a video of President Trump on January 6th, but I digress. Described Green's stance on the Epstein files as a turnaround that is remarkable. The New York Times, that leans left, said Trump has hinted at his agitation with Green before, and noted an exchange from this summer where Trump joked about how it could be difficult to date Green. The Washington Examiner, that leans right, wrote, "The discord within the Republican Party over the case of Epstein has been unique in Trump's second term, stirring up a rare rebellion in a caucus usually unyielding loyal to Trump." And again, here's my stance on it. It doesn't help the American people put any food on the table. But here's another reason why I think some people went against Ms. Green. Let me show you something. So this is called Track APAC. This is a website that tracks the spending of individuals. So I looked up Marjorie Taylor Greene to see if she was getting any money. Now you can see who some of the higher people are on this list who got some money. So over $750,000, we got John Ossoff, like right under $750,000 at $1,715,320. He's pro-Israel, y'all. He's a Democrat, pro-Israel, senator in Georgia. Got Raphael Warnock right behind him. And this is his first, he's a freshman in the Senate, by the way. $646,629. Oh, he is up there. Buddy Carter, he's running against John Ossoff, got $67,347. He's running against this guy. Yeah. Know who you're voting for. Just saying. We got Sanford Bishop. Yeah, we got all these people. Yeah, we even got this person, Mike Collins. He's another one. He's going to be running for Senate as well. He's on the AIPAC list. Yeah. And this is the American Israel Political Action Committee. And the reason why they don't have to file with FARA is because they're in America supporting Israel innocently. Oh, is it that innocent though? You did hear about some of those things that Trump said about her. So we got to remember that the whole Epstein thing ties well into Israel. Epstein was Jewish. So there's a lot of people that were going back and forth to his little island in those misgivings. Yeah. And I was actually listening to another YouTuber who was like, yeah, don't think that the stuff still isn't going on. Of course, it's still going on. And all of these people that are taking money, allegedly, know it's going on. Okay. David Scott, he even got $105,000. But guess who's not taking any money from Israel? Who you're attacking? President Trump. Yeah, I'm calling you to the carpet on this, sir, because it's very telling. This is very telling. She hasn't taken any money from AIPAC. She's in the green. What are we talking about? What are we doing? It's real convenient. You're attacking her when a lot of your friends are taking money. You know Mike Collins. You also know Bodie Carter. Yeah, you've supported these people. You have. Seen you pictures with them. Rick Allen, yep, him too. Most of these Republicans, yeah. But Marjorie, yeah, she's outspoken. You may not like her, but she's not taking money from AIPAC. I respect that. I got respect for it. You may not like her, but I respect this. Because she's going it the difficult route. Okay? Because when you stand up to this lobby in Congress, they find ways to destroy you. And in my opinion, whenever I see people going after somebody who may be just like a little bit anti-Israel, they're like, nah, we don't want to. There you are. I'm just saying, Trump, be careful. Be mindful. Because I know you like to, go after certain individuals because it suits this, that, and the other. And then you want to turn around like, why isn't there more, coming together in the Republican Party? It's because of stuff like that. People follow your direction. They just do because you're their leader. You're leading the party right now. And, a lot of people have always asked me, they were like, so, where are you at with Donald Trump? It's like, I don't support Donald Trump. I like some of the policies, right? I definitely like the immigration policies. Some of the economic policies, I just want the supply chain to get back on track, because if the supply chain is back on track and there's more supply and there's less demand, that means prices are going to get lowered. That's just kind of easy. When there's more stuff available than there are humans, prices go down. But we've been in the reverse. We've had more demand, less supply, so they can raise the prices. But we need to continue to make them drive prices down by having less demand. It's kind of simple, but we'll get there. But I really want to see less infighting with both parties, because I think it's ridiculous. But I would also like to see other countries not so involved and intertwined in our politics that we change the way we do politics over here. I don't live in Israel. I don't. And by the way, I'm Jewish by blood, generationally. My great-great-grandmother on my dad's side, she was Jewish. She was. So it's by blood, by descent. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to talk on it. I don't live in Israel. I don't want to have anything to do with Israel's politics. It's none of my business. Do I pray for the people of Israel? Yes, but we got to realize that their Christians in Israel are less than 2% of their population. There are people there who don't even believe in God. They're atheists that are in Israel. And their biggest religious population is Islamic. In Israel, by the way. Yeah, we'll go over that tomorrow on Tell It All Tuesday. But these are the things we just have to keep into perspective. You know, this whole ban on hemp products. They really want everybody focused on getting chemical treatments that will never get them to a cure. It's all about money. That's who they serve. So remember, the economic ban, the mass blackout is happening November 25th to December 2nd. And I hope and pray that it continues to go beyond that, to really check the system and let the system know you are not getting any of our money. And we're going to make it so where you have so much stuff left on your shelves, you're not going to have a choice but to lower all of your prices. Go out of business. And we'll just open up, what are those closeout stores? Because you can no longer exist. And somebody else is going to take your place and be competitive in the market. We need to have as much competition possible. That is something that does make our country better than other countries. It's the competition. But what's horrible, as you can see with this hemp ban, is they're trying to force non-competition. So sad. So sad. But thank you guys for joining me here this morning on Unfiltered Vision News for Recap Monday, right? I hope you guys have a blessed week. Thank you so much for joining me here this morning. And remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you tomorrow.